Have you ever walked down the street and suddenly in front of you there's a car crash, someone falls off a ladder or into a manhole? Witnessing any form of violence can cause an everlasting effect in our mind. In this video I'll tell you a story about a boy that witnessed a traumatic event, and although his mother covered his eyes, turned him around and pulled him away to a safe place, the impact could not be avoided. It was in the mid-1960s, and probably I was about 10 or 11 years old, the age in which my friends and I rode on buses on our own. I was riding on a bus, poking my head out of the window to feel the wind in my face, when suddenly something hit my left eye. It was a particle of coal of about 1 millimeter in size. In those days, anthracite coal was one of the main fuel sources in my town because we lived near coal mines. So the air must have been plagued with these tiny rocks. I don't remember what symptoms I had, but the little black pebble was stuck to my iris, and I do remember it was just on the surface and probably caused issues when I opened and closed my eyes. Although one could catch it with a pair of pincers and pull it out, regretfully at that time there were no ophthalmic tools for that kind of operation in my town. So my mother took me to the capital, Santiago, to get the little bastard out. I mean the pebble. In Santiago she took me to an eye surgeon who put my head inside a sort of head squasher and with his hammer and chisel got it out. That was over with. But before going back to our hometown, we spent a pair of days saying hello to friends and family that were living over here, and shopping some things that couldn't be found down south. It was while we were shopping in downtown Santiago when this story happened. We were walking up San Antonio Street when I saw a woman doing something strange. She was pushing a wheelchair with a very old woman in it. She was a few yards before us, but not on the sidewalk. The wheelchair was on the pavement next to the sidewalk, moving against the traffic. Either she was trying to find an easy way to get onto the sidewalk, or she wanted to get on one of the buses that were along the street. At that moment, another bus came in to stop by the sidewalk, but so near the women that it struck the wheelchair, turning it over backwards, and the elderly woman hit her head on the curb. Apparently my mother had her eyes on the same sequence I had seen. She grabbed me by my shoulders, turned me around, and took me away from the scene. Getting us out of the place was not easy because it was full of pedestrians, and there were at least 30 yards to the first corner. It must have taken us 1 or 2 minutes before we reached the corner, but even if we had reached the other side of town, the impact was already in us. The image of the woman, the wheelchair, the fall, the head hitting on the pavement, those images haven't abandoned me, despite they happened about 60 years ago. The images come and go occasionally, as if they were part of my life. I must say, I don't remember ever having felt any anguish or pain with this memory, this sequence of images. There was no blood, there was no hard blow. Maybe I even imagined it was like falling out of a bed. But there was something my mother didn't consider, and I'm sure you haven't either. The moment the old woman struck the ground, the caregiver uttered a piercing scream, followed by a painful, non-stop wailing that followed us. Those 30 yards followed us back home and has followed me up to this day. Every time I remember this scene, this sound comes up and drives into me very deep. My heart, my mind, it hurts. That pain is there, and I believe it will always be there. Not because of what I saw, but of what I heard. On the other hand, these incidents happen so fast that many frames of film are saved in one's memory before anyone can do anything. So covering a child's eyes might be of no use unless the child is looking elsewhere. Maybe the only thing one can do is hug a child, cover its ears if needed, and remove him or her from the sight. Well, I hope this anecdote helps in some way, and please subscribe and share as much as you can. Thanks for watching.